And welcome to the Tees Valley International Film Festival podcast. My name is Sarah, and we're here at Stockton Arts with the star of The Musketeers, All Creatures Great and Small, Van de Valk, and Hollywood film The Performance. It's Maimie McCoy. Maimie, thank you so much for coming back to your homeland to join us, to speak with us today. So, before we kick off, I must ask, is Maimie your real name?
No, it's Mary. So when I come back up here, everyone calls me Mary. So that's, yeah, and I changed it. I remember when I was at university and you had to like pick your name for equity, there must have been some old biddy somewhere called Mary McCoy who I could never find or trace. And so I had to change it. So I played with like loads of different names. At one point I thought, and I used to like such a twat practice like it was my Academy Award, Mary de Beauvoir would be kind of, but it was ridiculously pretentious. And then I shifted to, it kind of went through a few different stages. It was Maimie, which is what my like brother used to call me when I was little. It became Maimie, and then it stuck.
Yeah. It's unique. You're the first Maimie that I've ever met.
Yeah. Yeah, that I think also there is something within a name, and it does give me something. Less so now, but it was almost like it was a bit of a persona. It was a bit more, Maimie was much more exciting than Mary was. Like Mary just was like a very, like my normal version of me.
I'm with you.
But I think those have kind of joined together a bit more now as the years have gone on.
So what made you decide to want to become an actor?
It's something I think about quite a lot because I don't remember when I was younger having very clear ideas about what I wanted to do. I don't think I was ever that 8 going, I need to be, I want to be a film star. I want to, do that stuff. But I think we always performed as a family. Me and my brothers we went to dance classes. So I did like all the local dance comps, whether it was in Redcar or it was up in South Shields or whatever. So that sense of performance was always there. And that was from really young. And then the acting came in much later. I remember at school and at sixth form.
Do you think that it's important for actors to go to drama school?
Having not gone, I think you can, it's still possible to get into the industry. I'm interested to know if that's still the same now. I don't know the answer to that right now. It was really hard when I was starting out because it felt like drama school was the only option.
Yes.
And it felt like it was much more closed off. Yeah. I dare say it's probably similar still. I'm sure it's changed somewhat because I think there's so many other ways in. I think there's so many other options in. I think there are great merits to drama school. I think the training you get, I think sets you up. I think the techniques you probably learn there, I think will stand you in amazing stead. But equally, I've got friends who went to university and did totally other degrees and have got in. I sometimes think that it gives you an edge.
Yes.
It gives you a different perspective. You're less in a bubble. I don't want to say one's better than the other. I just think it's totally different, and I think it always benefits you as whatever performance you do as an artist, whatever it is, that you've got a life to draw on, and not just one little world.
Absolutely. It's so important, isn't it, to be able to channel your life experience or to be able to draw on those on maybe difficult times, to be able to channel that through your characters that you'll be playing.
Yeah, I think so.
How did you find it moving from the northeast then to all of a sudden you're in a big city in London? How was that for you?
Well, we used to go a lot when we were kids. So like, I always loved London. It was the place I wanted to be. And so it wasn't as unfamiliar as, say, like certain friends. Like I used to look at certain people on our course and we'd all grown up in, various parts of the country and stuff. And, some people were like a total rabbit in headlights. And it didn't quite feel like that for me. I think it just felt exciting because it felt like that's where everything was. It was definitely like you leave like with your little backpack on and then you go to the big city. I think that was definitely the feeling. Or even like when I would go into like central London, go to like Pineapple Dance Studios, you felt like, I'm a pineapple dance
Yes.
studios. It's like I've made it.
I remember having that experience
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It's that thing, and it's kind of glorious.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't want to. You want that at that age as well. You want that kind of. Otherwise, you'd never leave, and you'd never go and do it. I don't know about you when you look at your younger self as well. Like I was really self-conscious and really shy.
Yes.
So I would have struggled anywhere, to be honest. I don't think it would have mattered if I was in Manchester or if I was in Sheffield or Liverpool or whatever. I was that person. So I was always quite kind of, part of me was quite contained and terrified of the world anyway. So, but it felt like London felt like it was thrilling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And still very brave, because that's still a big move for a young person to move to a big city.
I guess so. I don't think I thought of it like that. I just knew, like, location-wise, it was in the right place.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, well, that'll do.
Yes.
And I'm here, and then it'll surely opportunities will come because I'm here.
And did they come? Like, how was it leaving your course and finding an agent and then going into the world of work?
No agents came to our show at the end because it was so bizarre, a postmodern piece of theatre. Nobody was interested.
Okay.
But I also got really lucky because I wrote to a woman called Mary Selway, who was, at the time, was the most revered casting director. And I'd seen her name on a film credit. And I was quite naive. I didn't really know who she was.
Yes.
And I just wrote to her and I sent her my headshot, my little fat face on a headshot, and wrote a very green letter going, I think I was Mary at that point as well. So I was like, my name's Mary McCoy. I've just left university, blah, blah, blah. I really want to get into film. I almost wish I had it because I think I'd probably cry at how stupid I was. But it landed on her desk and she called me in.
Amazing.
And she was casting Love Actually at the time.
Wow.
And she said to me, she was very, very lovely and really nurturing. And she went, you won't get it because it'll be an all-star cast, but I want to put you forward for something.
Brilliant.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, great. And she was like, here's the script. And I was like, I don't really know what to do. So she like went through it with me and she called me back in and she was like, she was an absolute guardian angel, actually. I always kind of credit her as getting it going for me because I don't know what would have happened if it hadn't. And I met Richard Curtis with her and she was very sweet and she went, right, let's get you an agent now, shall we? And I went, yeah. Yeah, should we get one? And her daughter happened to be like one of the top agents at what was ICM, which then became independent.
Yes.
So I ended up with her for like 10 years and that's
amazing.
And that started me off. And I honestly don't know what would have happened without that. And I guess there's so much where it's timing, it's luck, it's something, my face kind of worked and she was very sweet. So she saw something and I don't know what it was because I was such a bag of nerves, but I guess I will have some faith that she saw a flash of something.
Absolutely. And she's responded to something genuine and heartfelt. She probably looked at your letter and thought, yeah, like you say, this girl's got something and it's honest, she really wants to work. And I just want to help her. Yeah,
I think so. I think probably that naivety was what captured her attention. I think, you know, and I wasn't one of those girls from RADA who'd come out and they were, you know, terrifyingly confident.
Yes.
And, you know, they're very assured that type of actor. So I was not that at 21.
Yeah.
If you could really see yourself or see those qualities, you know, when you were younger, if you could have, or if I could have celebrated that, I think it would have been kind of, it wouldn't have been so painful.
Yeah.
For like the years that followed.
Yes.
I would have had some faith in knowing actually that stuff is your strength.
Yes.
You just think it's such a weakness, but it's the thing that marks you out.
Absolutely. It's very endearing.
Yes, probably. Yeah. I mean, I see that in people now and you go, oh God, don't lose that. It's gorgeous.
Absolutely.
But you almost can't recognise that or can't see that about yourself.
So what were some of your most memorable projects? Because you have had a very broad and varied career.
I always remember a film I did when I was about 20, I think I was about 24, and it was an independent, like truly independent film. We did it for about £2.50, and we all lived in one house in Devon, and we, like, the producer cooked dinner for us every night, and we shot everything within the garden and the house, and the bedroom I slept in was the character's bedroom. All the crew were in the attic, you know, stuff like that. I loved that, and I will always remember that sense of, well, I guess it really taught me about the team, and it's less individualistic. It's about the team, you know, so everyone would be carrying the kit down to the beach. Everyone, you know, everyone would be mucking in and stuff. And I loved that. And I would hate to see it now, because I think it'll be shit. I think I'd have just been like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. It's been awful to watch. I don't know if the script was that, I mean, I don't know, but I loved it.
Yes.
I absolutely loved it. And actually, the actress who played my sister, she was a few years older than me, and I just worshipped her. I thought she was like the greatest thing ever. And we worked together on the last season of Valk. She came on as a guest.
Wow.
And it was so, amazing. Yeah, it was lovely, like 20 years later. And I love that happens quite regularly. I guess when you've been doing it for so long, there's something really precious about those moments. So that job, you know, and, you know, literally nobody's seen it, nor will ever see it. But that one, I always think sticks out. And then the performance, which I did a couple of years ago, I think it's the most comfortable I've been on screen. I felt, even though it was hugely challenging, it was the most relaxed I think I've been. I think it's the most me that's come out in a character.
Yes.
And I got to dance, which is, you know, having spent
Your
all
background.
of those years, doing it. And I had also put that to bed. I didn't think I would tap dance on film. I didn't think that opportunity would happen. I didn't think it would happen when I think I was 42 at the time. So I thought, to play a female lead in a film opposite a big Hollywood actor, and tap dancing, I didn't think any of those components would ever happen.
Yes.
So when that came up, it was such an opportunity. And I think when it finished, I knew it was going to be a tricky sell, because it's quite a niche film.
Yeah.
And he's got a big profile, but I thought we're relying on his profile to sell this film.
Yes.
And it might do a little run in festivals. It might get a release. All of those things over these last couple of years, was so uncertain. I thought, I'm going to let that go. I'm going to let it go. So it's been, the couple of things that have happened with it have been a real surprise. We had a screening of it in November. It's at the end of a film festival. It happened to be in London. I thought, maybe this is the one time it's going to be seen in the UK. So I sat in a space, you know, actually about this size. My dad was there, my brother was there, my boyfriend was there, and I thought, that's it. Maybe that's it, and we'll celebrate it. And it was a really gorgeous night, and there was a lot to be learned from that whole experience, actually.
How has that been for you, filming in different parts of the world? Because obviously you're in Amsterdam a lot now, filming Van der Valk, and then Slovakia, the UK. How have you found it? Have there been differences, like cultural differences?
Yeah, massively. Massively. And it feels like such a perk, because you almost get to live out a different version of yourself in another city.
Yes.
I think you go, oh, life could look like this.
Yes.
So, you know, I certainly felt that in Amsterdam, which I absolutely adore as a city. It's harder now as my little girl gets older, being away. That stuff is not, I know we're running out of time on that. I need a job in the UK.
Yes.
Because everything I keep doing keeps taking me away. And that's thrilling when you're younger.
Yes.
Because you get a call and you literally pack a bag and you go.
Yeah.
So that nomadic lifestyle, I think, suits certain people.
Yes.
I don't think it's everybody's bag. I think, you know, if you want something which is very rooted and settled and secure.
Yes, don't be an actor.
Don't do it. Well, I mean, why would you do it? Because, you know, if you want to just go and escape and go and live this very kind of unstable, and yet it's very addictive as well.
Yes.
I look at addiction quite a lot with it, because you're somebody's dangling some very shiny carrot.
Absolutely.
And in your 20s, early 30s, like, that stuff's wild and brilliant.
Yes.
And then, but there's also something about going, you never know what it is. Amsterdam was fascinating because I had been, like, done that classic early 20s, don't really remember my day and a half in Amsterdam trip. And yet going back when I had just turned 40, and, like, life was obviously very different. That job, I didn't realise I needed that city. That city totally transformed what I want from life,
Yes.
think about life, a different way of being. London looked different because it's, Amsterdam is it's a smaller space. It's kinder to the soul in terms of you're not trekking an hour and a half constantly to get anywhere.
Absolutely.
And I discovered a love of water from there. I started swimming in not all the canals, but I got my swim spots in the city. It gave me a quality which I didn't know I needed. And I go back there now, even when I'm not working.
Yes.
And I made really good friends, so I am so thankful for that, because I wouldn't have known that was a part of my life that I was desperate to, like, I feel really myself there. That
Yes.
was a bonus. That was a, and I know that's a very lucky way to be or to live or to have that opportunity. But it's also, if I'm going to be kinder to myself, I go, well, for years of not working or years of trying, I was like, sometimes that's the, that's the kind of, what's the word I want to say? It's the treasure, It's the kind of glorious bit alongside the years where it's really tough. Or
Yes.
you're doing many things you don't want to do, or you lose faith.
Yes.
But I think, and also we're not in Europe now.
Yeah.
And I've been working in Europe for the last couple of years.
Yes.
It kind of reinforces my feelings and beliefs about being part of the world.
Yes.
And being much more connected, and what we have to learn from each other's cultures as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is your split when you're there versus when you're in the UK? How much time are you in Amsterdam?
It's usually about 4 months.
Okay.
But the last time I was there, also as my daughter's at that age now where I don't really want to be away.
Yes.
I would be back every given opportunity.
Yes.
So I'd be doing, like, Sunday to Thursday.
Yes.
Get the train back as soon as possible, 2 days and then back. So that was my 4 months. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
I mean, it has great merit to it, but it's also, we're kind of coming out of that stage. It was easier family-wise when she was younger to do that stuff, but it's 4 months of the year. So really, when you look at the other, if that financially can get me through the year, which it can if you're clever, then that's also a very lucky position to be in.
Yes. And then how do you find it when you come back to the UK and find work? Like, how was it for you? Like, do you have a lot of opportunities now that you are a female lead on an ITV series? Honestly? No.
It's really hard.
It's really
It's really hard. And I think, also what I realise is everybody's, like, you can't compare yourself to anybody else because it's so futile. And Van der Valk's an interesting one because it hasn't done for my career what I would have liked it to have done in a way, or like what my agent would have wanted it to do. It doesn't quite hold that kind of, doesn't quite have that kind of gravitas, which would, I was going to say automatically would lead to something else.
Yes.
I think that's also a myth that you do one thing and it gets
snowballs.
It has value and it has some kind of power, but also that show in particular, it's not as big in the UK. It's like, it's internationally, it's a big sell.
Yes.
But it hasn't really taken off here. So it's really hard to get a job.
Yes.
Is the honest answer. And it gets you seen more.
Yes.
In a way. So like sometimes I can get my foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
But then the competition is fierce because usually my competition have done something a little sexier, maybe more original, or a show that's on Apple or it's on Amazon, or, you know, it's a bigger, high profile show, so you can compete against them. But every audition, certainly that I have, is an absolute battle. Yeah. And that, I wonder if it's changed, and I think it's part of it's got easier because you've maybe got a chance to get that job.
Yes.
But it's at the same time, it's harder because if we're going to look at Van der Valk, somebody's going to look at it and go, it's Van der Valk. It's a reboot. It's not like an original show. And that's not to diss the quality of the show or the writing of the show or the creations of the show at all. I think it's just the reality of how the industry's working.
Yes.
And it's frustrating, but it's also, I'm kind of less ambitious than I was. Okay. And that show has really given me a very regular, secure couple of years.
Yes.
It's become more about the actual job. And I learnt my craft on that job as well, you know. So I also know that I can go on set and I have a real wealth of experience from doing that particular job, even though it's maybe not got me the next best, biggest thing, it's actually given me a kind of confidence on set. Yes.
Are you, do you have any kind of alternative areas of work that you do if work is a little bit quiet?
I do a lot of voiceovers at the moment. Yes. But that's quite a new thing. That's quite a new thing. So like this last year that's changed. So again, that's given me like a financial kind of stability. Yes. But equally, you can't rely on that stuff because it's as flimsy as it is, as acting is. And then I guess other stuff. I spent most of my career doing other stuff. And it's actually what I think about more than anything, more than acting, in terms of creating. Yes. And whether that's, you know, I had a cake business for a long time and, you know, all my family's in hospitality. So that's always where my brain goes to. Yes. Because it's something I know and I love. And so that's definitely my little bakery in my mind. Yes. Is like, you know, will eventually happen, I think. I don't think I want to write because I don't think that's for me, but I have lots of ideas about films or shows and stuff. And, and also particularly stuff, it keeps coming back here. It keeps coming back to the Northeast. And, you know, that's also partly why I wanted to do the podcast. I wanted to kind of be back at home because a lot of the stories that I have in my head, they all come back here. Yes.
Do you feel like it's necessary for actors to be living in London, or do you get much work in the Northeast?
I wonder. I don't think London's the be all and the end all anymore. Okay. It feels like there's quite a lot happening up here. I mean, I'd been up to do All Creatures Great and Small a couple of years ago. Yeah. And I know that is a continuous thing here. One of my school friends actually works in props on that, and she'd recently moved back from London, and she has there's loads of work for her going on. There's lots of things, whether it slightly takes it to Liverpool or if it keeps it up here or slightly more Newcastle. But, you know, so there is lots going on. I'd always want to be up here. I'd like to be in England. I'd like to just be like on home ground a little bit more. Yeah. And All Creatures, I don't know. They keep trying to get me back in. So like, can we just make this happen, please? Yeah. I am actually waiting again for them to tell me whether that's going to happen. Yes. But there was something really, really special about when I filmed that, and that was up here. I mean, that was gorgeous. Also, I'd watched that when I was younger, so it felt really personal. And there's something about being connected to the landscape, and you understand it, you know it.
Yeah. What about some of the most inspiring people that you've met?
Do you know what? I think if I look at, there's certain actors that I just have loved, like Mark Warren on Van der Valk. He's been such a great teacher. And also because he edits as he's going along. So he knows exactly he's very technical, and he will go, right, I'm going to do this line here. I'm going to try this here. I'll give you this option, this option, this option. So he does it from that perspective. Now, I can't really do that, but it's been fascinating watching that. And yet he's incredibly natural with it.
Yes.
But he's thinking outside of himself and inside, and can access a real depth and emotion and darkness and lightness of like he's so brilliant and capable. And and then I having done 4 years with him, he's been my little teacher.
Yes.
And we have very different styles, so I think actually I've probably brought stuff to him which I don't really know about, but he's been a real inspiration and a real quiet leader, actually.
And what about the best piece of advice that someone has given you in your career?
Like staying true to yourself, not comparing is really the big thing, and it's a horrible industry for that, because somebody will always have something that you want.
Yes.
And if you're not careful, it will always belittle what your experience is. And I'm terrible for that. And it's, you do a couple of days on something and you think it's great, but then somebody's doing a bigger part or this, or they've just worked with this director. And that is like where madness lies.
Yes.
Because you will never escape that. I'm sure even if you're at the very, very top level, somebody else has just got the other job. And then,
Absolutely.
So that filters down. So I think don't compare.
Yes. That's brilliant advice. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for travelling to speak with us, Maimie. It's been fascinating hearing about your life, your career, your advice that you've given us. And from the Tees Valley International Film Festival, we wish you every success.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. That's really kind.